Hello and welcome to ATFX's Jackson Hole Symposium preview. Easy for some to say, but a massive event coming at the end of this week. We've already seen a bit of action this week on the back of meetings between Presidents Trump, Putin, Zelensky, and a whole host of European leaders. But this week, it really will be, certainly at the end of the week, central bank focus and a big focus on the Fed. Now, Jackson Hole Symposium is traditionally where the Fed gives its indication on how it's going to change any kind of evaluation it does and sometimes how it's looking at markets. So it can be a major change for how we're looking at central banks and what they're doing, especially the Fed. Now, there are the great and good of the central bank world going to be in Wyoming at the end of the week. So we may hear some up from some other central bankers, particularly going to be a focus, I think, on anyone from the ECB or the Bank of England. Bank of England, obviously, Andrew Bailey was there last year. They're stuck in a bit of a rock and a hard place at the moment with high inflation and high unemployment. So anything from them could see some moves in cable and sterling crosses. But really, the main course is going to be the Federal Reserve Bank. We've got Fed meeting minutes out on Wednesday this week. We're expecting them to confirm what we got from the Fed last time. But we need to have a look at what we're going to come up with from the Fed in the approaching meeting. Now, September has been widely expected to give us our first rate cut, 25 basis point, and the market is fully pricing it in. Or actually, what I should say, it was fully pricing it in about a week ago. It's dropped down from 95% plus of a chance to about 85 now. And that's come because we've got some fairly punchy PPI data. And some of the other inflation numbers are just pointing that inflation could be a little bit sticky for the Fed, even though we got that massive employment data coming out the week before that showed that that jobs market in the US has not been as healthy as we thought through the summer. So big focus will be on Jerome Powell, and he is set to speak. First up, we're going to look at what indication he gives us for that September rate cut. And the risk that most people in the market feel is that that rate cut expectation comes down because he does point to those sticky inflation numbers. Secondly, greater indication and forward guidance on how the Fed's going to be looking at data and how we move forward. That could also be something, and other people are feeling that the risk is if they look to be preemptive on inflation, and we're looking back at Trump's tariffs on this in this particular instance, then we could see those rate cut expectations pull back again as the Fed says, listen, we need further indication on how much inflationary pressures we're going to get from tariffs. So that's where we are. It could be a massive end to the week. The symposium starts on Thursday. We're set to hear, from Jerome Powell on Friday. Could be a really lively session into the weekend, especially if it brings away this expectation of a 25 basis point in September, plus further cuts by the end of the year. So far, we're looking at 2 cuts into the end of the year. If it brings it back to 1, that's a massive change. We could see the dollar really accelerate. Just going to have a quick look at some of the technicals where we could see some trading opportunities, and there are a few out there. As you can see here, gold, as we know, has been rising really well for the last few months, few years, really. But this is a key technical support line we've got on the daily charts. Gold is sitting just above this and just above recent lows. If we see that pullback on rate cut expectations, gold could really start to move to the downside. A breakthrough this trend line opens the way down here. A breakthrough these lows further moves. We've got that 200-day moving average coming in just under 30.50 along with a longer term trend line. So a potentially great trade there. If we hear a more dovish inclination from Jerome Powell, expect us to move back up and we could challenge this resistance trend line and then the all-time highs back up about 3,500. I'll just move over to have a look at euro as well. More interesting, I think, from the euro, we're kind of in the middle of the range here. Support coming in round about 115.30, resistance around about 118.05, then this previous high around 118.30. We should see a movement within those ranges if we get a change from Jerome Powell, but expect them to be held depending on how far it goes. Breaks either side could mean we're in a massive change of dollar fortunes, big moves coming ahead. And here we are at the dollar yen chart. Obviously, dollar yen's been moving massively. This could be the key. We've got interest rate differentials really kicking in from a perspective from both the Bank of Japan, which is slightly more hawkish, and obviously the expectations for the Fed rate cuts. That's been pushing dollar yen down from these recent highs, not too far ago, 1st of August, that we got them way up above around about just under 151. We're trading at 147.70, similar to euro. Either way, we could get a move to test resistance, initially at 149.23, then just above 150. Support, if we do see it become more dovish, is now coming in around just underneath 145, the figure. Plenty of trading opportunities out there. If you need anything from us at ATFX, please let us know. But a big end to the week with this Jackson Hole Symposium.